Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Welcome to Ask Rob and Rob. It is Tuesday, and that means one thing for certain. Ask Rob and Rob is here to answer 2 more property questions on behalf of lovely listeners. So when you listen to these questions, I'm sure you're going to be inspired to ask something of your own. And when that inspiration strikes, there's a really easy way of sending a question in.
Yeah, I'm sure you know this number by memory now. It's 013-808-00035 to leave us a voicemail, or you can go to propertyhub.net/ask and leave us a message that way. Super simple. So much so that we've got 2 more lovely questions in this week, and the first of which is from Alex.
Hey, Rob and Rob, it's Alex from Reading here. First off, thanks massively for the podcast and everything you guys do. It's massively helped me on my investing journey. Can't thank you enough for that. My question for you is, I recently bought my first buy-to-let property, and what I'd like to know is, now that I've got one, I've spent all my money, I'm saving for another deposit, but that's going to take a long time to get a portfolio together, but I'm very keen to get the next one. Do you guys have any tips on how I can speed up the process to get property 2 and 3 and so on? Cheers very much.
Thank you for the question, Alex. And you are in a position that is not a lot of fun, but one that most investors have found themselves in at this point in the journey. It's where you've got that first property. It's really exciting. You've been through the process. There's been some anxious bits, some sleepless nights. You've learned a lot. You finally complete. The rent comes in. That's fantastic. Then a few months later, the novelty's worn off a bit. Nothing really is happening, which is what happens in property most of the time. And you realise, oh, I'd really like to do this again because this extra £200 a month or whatever it is hasn't really changed my life. But how am I ever going to do it? Well, this is entirely normal, like I say. And there is no killer answer. I'll say that up front. Ultimately, you do just need to save up again. However, the good news is it's going to be a little bit easier this time than it was last time. And then every subsequent time in future is going to be a little bit easier again. And that's for a couple of reasons. The first reason is you've got the rent coming in now. So if you were saving up a certain amount each month, I'll say £1,000 a month to keep the numbers easy, and now you've got £200 a month in rental profit coming in, then you can save £1,200 a month now. So if you just keep doing exactly what you were doing before, you'll get your savings pot in place quicker this second time round because you've got the rent. The other reason is that you might get a helping hand from the property market. So if you manage to buy at a discount or add some value, then this will be easier. But even if you didn't do either of those things and just do the property market going up, you might be in a position in a couple of years' time to refinance the property that you already own, to pull some equity out to put towards your deposit for the next one. So again, your savings are going to get a little boost there. It's still going to take time. Of course it is. And then after you bought your second property, you're going to be in the same situation again. But then you've got 2 lots of rent coming in, and you've got 2 properties that are potentially going up in value, allowing you to pull out equity. So that will be a little bit easier. This is what we call the snowball effect. And like a snowball going downhill, it starts slowly. It's going to take a frustratingly long time for anything visible to happen, but it really does pick up. And by the time you start getting onto property 4, 5, you'll notice that you'll be able to make significantly faster progress. So I'm sorry I've not been able to give you some incredible money saving scheme or the next hot stock tip or something like that that's going to help you make a load of money quickly. But keep the faith is the advice I can give you. A lot of people will give up at this point because this is where it gets hard. And then they'll go, oh, well, I did that whole property investment thing and it didn't change my life like everyone said. That's because they gave up too early. If you keep going now, you'll be very grateful you did in a few years' time.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alex. Next up, we've got a question in from Sam.
Hi, Rob and Rob. It's Sam from Bedford. I've been listening to the podcast for a while now and it's really helped me, so thanks very much. I'm really keen to get into the market and thought maybe joint ventures would be a good way to get started. Is that something you'd recommend as a way to get into property? I look forward to hearing from you. Bye.
Great question, Sam. Thank you. Now, joint ventures are interesting, and for some, it's a great opportunity to build your portfolio that little bit faster. Often, how it works, although there are different versions of it, is that you will trade your time and your skills, and somebody else in return will put in the cash, but not put the effort in. So you may find that there's a refurb project that you've identified that you think you can add value to, and then possibly by flipping it or refinancing at the end, take cash out, that person gets a return, and you get either profit, which you can use in your own investment moving forward, or the asset, depending on how much you were able to refinance and draw out. Of course, there are all different versions and there are many different ways of tackling it, but that's just to give you an example of how it could work. Now, the challenge is that you're going to trade your time and your expertise, and the other person is going to put in the cash. Now, there are people with cash, and you may have time. I don't know if you do, but you really need to look at that and go, can you dedicate a lot of time to this project? But more importantly, have you got the expertise? And I don't mean expertise because you've read Rob's wonderful best-selling property books or you've listened to the podcast for years, but what's your track record? What have you done? Because nobody with any sense would provide you finance unless you had a track record to demonstrate that you have a lot of skills. Now, you may not have invested in property before. You've said that this is your first investment. But if you're a builder and you can demonstrate you've got skills, you've got a trade, and that's how you can add your worth, then fine. But if all you've got is enthusiasm and none of those skills or trade skills, then you're really going to struggle. And the only people who tend to invest in those type of projects are friends, family, and fools. And really, you should leave all alone because you may have great intentions, but you don't want to be learning on the job on someone else's money because you could lose them a lot of money and then lose yourself some friends or family or credibility with the fool. So I know it's probably not the answer you want, but it's the realistic answer. And I know there's a lot of people out there who peddle things like JVs as a way to get started if you have no cash and you want to get into property faster. And they will sell you courses about that very subject. But the reason they sell you courses on it and not do it themselves is it's hard. It's even hard when you've got a track record. You've got to spend a lot of time prospecting, convincing the people with the cash that you are credible, because when you've got cash, there's a lot of things you can do with it. Just because you've got some skills doesn't mean they're just going to start lending you money. Now, once you've done a few projects, then hopefully your credibility grows and you can go back to the same investors time and time again. But in the beginning, it takes a lot of work. So yes, very attractive, the concept, very hard to do. I'm not saying don't do it, and I'm not trying to be negative and ruin your dreams or anything dramatic like that, but I'm just explaining the reality, how it is. And now you know how it is, and it's not someone at a rah-rah property session telling you a load of false truths about how you're going to be rich really quick by joint ventures and joint finance, and even though you've got no cash, but don't worry, you'll be a property millionaire in 12 months. Yeah, you know what? Maybe 1 in a million people do get to do that, but the most people who go through those courses don't. So it may be back to saving, or maybe you've got those skills and that time and that determination that you want to push on. But whatever you do, best of luck. And I hope it's not too long before you end up with your first property.
So there you go. Questions answered for 2 more listeners, and we will be back to do it all again this time next week. Before then, though, we will see you for the Property Podcast on Thursday. See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.